Italy, this one's for you. We're with you in spirit. I love Italy. I love riding my bike there, I love the people, I love the food. Oh, I miss it, and it's hard not to be there and to be watching the racing in Italy at the moment with the Giro, which was about to start soon. But that shouldn't stop us dreaming. And in the spirit of armchair travel, I thought I'd put a list together, the top 10 Italian climbs. Now GCN Italia also did a list, and I'm gonna see if I can topple the home favourites. I've been looking at last year's Giro d'Italia road book for some inspiration. There was many climbs in this edition, as I remember. And I've come outside to try and recreate some Italian al fresco dining. It's proven rather blustery, a bit more blustery than I remember in Italy, but we march on. And I would note, my pronunciation in this is definitely not going to be as good as GCN Italia. That's not up for any sort of vote or anything. I'm just saying that from the beginning. First up on the list, the Col de Nevele. Now, this is the only climb to feature on both lists. GCN Italia chose this one as well. So I'm going to start with it and then we'll diverge, because to be honest, this is my favourite climb of all time. Just, it trumps everything in my opinion. It's a real high mountain pass. It goes up to 2,744 metres. So it's really one of the highest ones in the Alps. And it goes from France into Italy, or Italy into France, whichever you prefer. And it's magical on both sides. I mean, magical. It really blew me away when I rode it back in 2018. It's only featured in the Giro d'Italia twice. It's also featured in the Tour de France twice as well. Although this is a relatively small number, to be honest, for such a big mountain pass. So it's kind of relatively unused compared to the other big mountain stalwarts. I rode it with my friend, Larry Warbass, and to be honest, ever since I have raved about it. So when you do get a chance, definitely check this one out and you will not be disappointed. So for that reason, definitely going on my top 10 list. The Podgo. How can you leave the Podgo off the top 10 Italian climb list? What's going on, GCN Italia? But anyway, the Podgo deserves to be on the list. It's part of possibly the greatest monument of all time, Milan-San Remo. Featuring in the finale, the Podgo comes after nearly 300 kilometres of racing. So whilst it's relatively short, you definitely feel it in the legs. With the Mediterranean Sea as a backdrop, and also the fast, furious descent down into San Remo with many switching, impressive hairpins, it's a climb that is up there with the greats. A cheeky little tip as well, because I used to ride this a lot when I was based in Nice, is to turn right at the top and you go into some much longer climbs and quite possibly some of the best roads in the Liguria region of Italy. So bear that one in mind, and also there's quite a nice little wine shop at the top too, but I didn't tell you. Right, next up on the list, the Col de Nevele. Now it featured for the first time in the Giro d'Italia last year, which is rather surprising because it's one of the real high mountain climbs in the Alps. It goes to 2,641 metres to a dead end. It goes to a water dam which feeds the city of Turin. But for that reason, it kind of makes the climb all the more epic. Once you get to the top, you really are just purely in nature, in the middle of nowhere with the mountains surrounding you, and it is breathtaking. I simply can't describe how amazing the view is from the top. When I raced up it in the Giro, it was, well, an experience. I was dropped at the start of the stage and we got onto the climb at the very end of the stage. I had a brutal day, probably my hardest moments of the Giro. And on the first few hairpins, they probably are the steepest of the whole climb. And I remember thinking, if it's this gradient for this amount of time to that altitude, that's it, I'm done, I'm going home. I'm gonna have dinner in the team car on the way to the airport and I'll see my teammates in a month's time. But it does level off in the middle, it gets a little bit easier before kicking at the end. And I managed to get through it and I was rewarded with those breathtaking views. It's also got a lot of history to it. The Italian job was filmed on the Col de Nevele. You remember those mountain descents when they get away with the loot, the 1960s classic film? Well, that was filmed on Col de Nevele. Interesting fact for you. And GCN were also lucky enough to visit last year and ride the climb. So I think when this is all over, I'd love to get back to it. And I recommend that you do too. It's a fantastic, fantastic climb. Moving towards Lake Como now, and the famous Madonna del Gizado, which features in the Giro di Lombardia, the race of the falling leaves. Now, the Madonna del Gizado was declared the patroness of cyclists by Pope Pius XII. And at the top of this climb, there's a small shrine to La Madonna, and also a museum dedicated to all cyclists. There's also an eternal flame which burns for any cyclist who has passed away, including the late great Fabio Casatelli, who was a local to the region. It's a really humbling experience and a beautiful, beautiful shrine. The climb itself is a gradual gradient of 5.2%, and you always have the beautiful backdrop of Lake Como. It really is a climb I'd recommend checking out, and it has to be on a top 10 Italian list. It's just a must do in my opinion. This climb is something special, the Paso de San Boulder. And before last year, I'd never heard of it until I found myself racing up it in the Giro d'Italia, and I looked ahead of me and saw the peloton in 5 places. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. But basically, this climb at the top is really rather impressive. It's a feat of engineering, if you ask me. The hairpins are all found in tunnels, and you have these bridges crisscrossing between the hairpins. So you get this sort of ladder sort of effect up the mountain, where you can't actually see the hairpins, you just see rows just going crisscross, 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 like that. And the reason for this is that in 1918, it was built as a supply route by the Austrian-Hungarian army in World War I. And the gradient couldn't exceed 12%, as they had to get the heavy artillery vehicles down the mountain, down the supply route. So I'm guessing that is why there's so many hairpins at the top. It's a 17-kilometre route between the towns of Tavina and Triciana. Hope I got that right. And the climb tops out at 710 metres. It really is a breathtaking climb. And to be honest, I'm surprised GCN Italia missed it off the list. It's a classic Italian climb. So I think I deserve a few bonus points actually for getting it on the list there. Right, another short climb to be added to the list. So please don't give me any grief in the comments, because this climb is no less spectacular in my opinion than even the biggest of mountain passes. It's only 1.8 kilometers long, but it's an average gradient of 10.8%. Now that's the average gradient. I'm talking, there's some steep ramps on this one. It's the Basilica de San Luca, and it features heavily in the Giro d'Emilia, the Italian one-day classic. And it was also the scene of the prologue of last year's Giro d'Italia. It's found in Bologna, and a beautiful, beautiful city in itself. And the climb winds its way up to the sanctuary of San Luca, which is the symbol of Bologna. It's a climb which is really steeped in history. There's a portico running up alongside the climb, which was built in 1674 and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I think for this reason, the Basilica de San Luca deserves a place on the list. It's a climb steeped in gradient and steeped in cycling history. The Basilica de San Luca. Also, a little tidbit about the Basilica de San Luca is that it's found on Zwift. So if any of you are busy out on Zwift at the moment, you can check out the Basilica de San Luca. Back into the Italian high mountain passes now. And I think that's the thing with Italy. You're just spoilt for choice really, with beautiful climbs and beautiful mountain passes. You can just keep reeling them off. Anyway, now we're on to the Passo Giau. This one is another lungbuster, topping out at 2,236 metres. And really this one is a rewarding climb. Once you get to the top, you're into quite open countryside. And from the road, you can really clearly see the Dolomites in all their glory. It's one that you definitely need to check out. And for this reason, it is definitely going on the list. And also on the bucket list of riding. You need to check this one out no matter where you're going. It's a beautiful, beautiful climb. Another high mountain climb, this time crossing from Italy into France and the Alps Maritime. The main road cuts through the mountains using one massive tunnel, so definitely don't ride that. But the old road cuts up spectacularly on the French side, with an incredible amount of hairpins. On the Italian side, the town of Pianisoprana welcomes you to one amazing view over the Alps. Tonda is 1,870 metres high and connects Nice with Cuneo in Italy. Whilst I would say the French side is my favourite, the descent and climb on the Italian side is equally stunning. It's also the gateway to a huge amount of gravel high roads, for your interest. I can't believe that GCN Italia left this one off the list because, to be honest, it's my favourite on the whole top 10. Paso Rolo. It is a breathtaking climb, 1980 metres high, found in the Trentino region of Italy. You're talking about 20 kilometres of climbing if you take it from the side of Predazzo, or around 40 kilometres in climbing if you go from the other side from Savina. Now both sides have a gradual gradient of around 5%, so if you want to, you can take this at your own pace and really take the climb in and enjoy it. Now this climb really does hold a special place in my heart because it was the final climb of last year's Giro d'Italia when the gruppetto was really on edge and not sure if they'd make the time cut. Once we crested this climb, we knew we were going to be safe. We could descend and just enjoy the rest of the race, take it all in. And I just remember flying down this climb. It's a real fast one actually, potentially my favourite descent in all of cycling. You have real free-flowing corners and wide hairpins that you can really lean into. And to be honest, it was one of the most special moments I've ever had in cycling. So definitely for me personally, this climb is a firm favourite on the list, and it's a climb I'll never forget. So if you ever want to check it out, do not hesitate. Paso Rolo. Right, another small climb to add to the list, the Col de Telegraphe, found near the city of La Spezia in the Cinque Terre National Park. Now it's another small climb on the list, but I think these small climbs of Italy, they're deserved additions to the list. They're just beautiful climbs, just as beautiful as the high mountain passes, but they also deserve our love. Col de Telegraphe has only featured in the Giro d'Italia one time in 2015, and it shouldn't be ignored. It's just stunning. Once you get to the top of this one, you're rewarded with views of the Cinque Terre National Park, and I can't describe how beautiful it is. The climb itself is only 4.2 kilometres long and gains 321 metres in altitude, but it also has spikes in gradient of up to 14%, so it's a real leg burner. And if you're ever in the area, definitely check this out. I actually stopped at a really nice pizza restaurant halfway up as well. But yeah, each their own. Now these are small Italian climbs, you have to include them. They're part of Italy, they're part of its racing heritage, and they're also part of the sheer wealth of climbs that you have in Italy. And for this reason, Col de Telegraphe is going on the list. Right, that was my top 10 Italian climbs. I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you found my list useful. But most importantly, in the comment section below, what do you think? Whose list would you have gone for, mine or GCN Italia's? Not gonna lie, it's getting pretty cold out here in Ireland. I'm starting to shiver and I've lost a few spinach leaves off into the hedge in the wind. But we'll keep dreaming, Stay safe everyone, thanks for watching and be kind out there, thank you. Where's the spinach leaves gone?